Well, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to FPL updates and FA Cup updates. There is a lot of football updates we need to go through because we did a big piece on the FA Cup third round. We restarting the FPL, and we're going to sort of like merge it all together. So we're almost looking back over the past week and a half of matches. So there is a lot to unpack, a lot of things to discuss. So what we're going to do, we're going to do ourselves a review of what happened in game week 21, any of the talking points from there. Yeah, there probably is going to be one at least. We'll then do, obviously, the points. We'll discuss the matches that have gone on since, especially as, to get an idea of the form of some of the Premier League teams, and also the big talking points of the smaller teams of the FA Cup as well. And to top it all off, we've had other matches going on, big matches to talk about as well. So let's get into it. And we started, yes, I know we're recording this on the 15th, but this goes way back to the 6th of January, last Tuesday. And we had West Ham United versus Nottingham Forest. This was the relegation 6-pointer. Both of them struggling in the Premier League, and it was a win for Nottingham Forest. One of those teams that seem to be doing like well and badly at the same time. But West Ham starting to get a bit concerning. In fact, be an interesting question, and I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Who's going to finish lower, Wolves or West Ham? Wolves are the one in form, but have less points. Just something to consider. Then moving on to Wednesday, that was where the bulk of our matches happened. So we had Bournemouth versus Tottenham Hotspur, which was a really fascinating match. 3-2 win for Bournemouth, and concerns over Tottenham Hotspur, which I think, given the fact that's more of like a looking ahead, that's something we will consider when it comes to the next matches. We then had a Brentford 3-0 win over Sunderland. Not entirely surprising. Sunderland don't do brilliantly away, but still a surprise on Brentford's side of things with the goals that they scored. Crystal Palace 0, Aston Villa 0. Bit of a surprise, but it's almost like the form team of last year versus the form team of this year, and yeah, a bit of a stalemate between the two of them. Nothing really exciting that happened in that match, so fair enough, 0-0. We then had Everton versus Wolverhampton Wanderers, and oh my god, what a game! We had one goal each. There was 2 red cards, one for Jack Grealish, one for Michael Keane. I'd say there's certainly thoughts to make about Michael Keane's red card when it came to the pulling of the hair. Um, it just feels like one of those ones. I don't understand why there's so much discussion over it. It feels like it's a done deal. Like, you don't do that. But for some reason there's debate over it. I don't understand why. Again, leave your comments if you feel that way. Fulham then beating Chelsea. Was this? This wasn't Liam Rosenior's first game. This was Callum McFarland's last game. So Liam Rosenior was in the stands, but yeah, Fulham beating Chelsea at Craven Cottage. Fulham again just showing their class. Manchester City drawing with Brighton and Hove Albion. Whatever happened when it came to this renaissance that Man City were having of the title challenge, that seems to have gone. Brighton and Hove Albion really did fantastically in this, and a good 1-1 result for them, as was for Burnley as well. I know Manchester United sacked their manager, but it's still a good surprise to see Burnley get a point against Manchester United. It was a good match between the two of them, and fair enough on that side of things. Then we had a hugely exciting match between Newcastle United and Leeds United. It was a last-minute penalty that got Newcastle the win up until, I think, was it the 94th minute? It was 3-3. So really fascinating and good on Newcastle, good on Leeds as well. And then we went from the exciting to the, well, not so exciting until you consider the last minute. It was a chess match between Arsenal and Liverpool, 0-0. Nothing too exciting, and then we came to, what was it, the 93rd, 94th minute? The incident between Gabriel Martinelli and Conor Bradley. Now, as you could probably guess from my background, that there could be some bias towards Liverpool here, but can I be honest? I don't understand the vitriol directed at Gabriel Martinelli. Like, I'm a little bit ashamed of the people that have the viewpoint that Martinelli should be thrown in the depths of hell for what he did. Like, let me explain where my thinking is. I want you to imagine the time where you might have watched a match, you've seen in the live action a player go down, and your first instinct is to shout, "Get up. Get up, you're playing." And we found out that actually they didn't dive, they weren't playing, they actually were injured, and then you go, "Oh, that was actually a really bad incident." Now, if you have done that, or you'll know where I'm going from. If you'll say you haven't done that, I'm sorry, you're lying. The fact is, we are all human beings. And even if we're not to consider the situation, the fact that Gabriel Martinelli did not see what happened to Conor Bradley, and just saw the fact that Conor Bradley did not touch Gabriel Martinelli, or Martinelli didn't touch Conor Bradley, and Conor Bradley went down, what is your first thought going to be? And no one... Gabriel Martinelli made a misjudgment. But I'm going to say this, no one really did anything that's egregious. Martinelli made a mistake, made an assumption, did the thing that quite a lot of football players do when they think somebody's playing, is that they'll do the pull up and push off the pitch and, little things like that. Throw the ball. I don't think he threw it at Conor Bradley, just threw the ball, right? And the Liverpool players in reaction, I don't think they did anything wrong. There's a bit of a pushing and defending of their mate. But nothing more of it. There was a yellow card that was given to Konate. There was a yellow card given to Martinelli. I'm going to say this. If Martinelli had got a red card, I wouldn't have been surprised. But I don't mind too much that he didn't get a red card. Like, I feel the same way towards Martinelli and his thoughts and actions as I do with those sort of accidental red cards, if that makes sense. Those follow through things we're seeing where they follow through, studs hit another player's ankle, and it's a red card as a result, right? That's the way I feel about it, is that for Martinelli, do I think he should get a lifetime ban? Do I think he should get any ban at all? Absolutely not. And I don't, I've never understood this. You hurt my player, that must have been intentional. Now, I will say this. There was some comments afterwards like, "Oh, Conor Bradley didn't respond when Gabriel Martinelli reached out and apologised," and everything like that. Well, if we're going to give some allowances towards Gabriel Martinelli, let's do the same for Conor Bradley. He's probably had a lot of messages of support from his current teammates, his former teammates, his Northern Ireland teammates, all wishing him a speedy recovery and everything like that. He probably is overwhelmed. And let's be honest here. Let's say that Gabriel Martinelli reached out over social media, because that's most likely how it's happened. Do you really think that there aren't some people on social media that have maybe said some negative things towards Conor Bradley that might have meant that he might have had to switch his notifications off because of everything that happened? We live in the modern world. That's how social media works. There will probably be trolls. There will probably be abuse that have been hurled at Conor Bradley in the same way that abuse would probably have been hurled at Gabriel Martinelli, because guess what? Football fans are a little bit divisive, and then you end up with trolls amongst those football fans that just decide to absolutely twist it to another level. It is ridiculous, but it's the way the world goes, unfortunately. So it's one of those where, just because the simple matter is, "Oh, hey mate, I apologised," yeah, no worries mate, right? That's just not how modern society works, unfortunately. Anyways, I'm in ranting, but that was game week 21. How did that affect us? Well, let's have a little look. We got 52 points in total, mostly helped by Thiago. In fact, absolutely helped by Thiago. But we got some really good points from Haaland, from Frimpong, from Gay, from Saliba. It could have been better. At the end of the day, we chose the wrong goalkeeper, but I'm okay with it. It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Now we have ourselves, I think, is it 2 transfers available? So we got some work we can potentially do depending on the matches ahead. But we're going to put a pause on the FPL because we now need to consider the FA Cup. And let's have a look at the matches. We're not gonna be focused on every single match, but the standout ones. Certainly the standout ones where we'll see who did well, who did poorly. And we started off with the Friday, and we started off straight away with a giant killing because Wrexham beat Nottingham Forest on penalties. GG's Wrexham. Right, we have our first Premier League knockout on the first day that Premier League teams are in it, and Wrexham beat them on penalties to do a bit of a giant killing, and Wrexham are through to the next round. We have Hollywood in the next round, in the 4th round of the FA Cup. But did the shock stop there? Well, absolutely not, because one day later, we had some absolute madness happen. Now, we did have Everton lose to Sunderland on penalties. So Sunderland are through to the next round. But look at that one underneath. Macclesfield Town, the team that is lowest ranked in this competition, beat the winners of the competition last year. Crystal Palace are out. Macclesfield are through. And they've got some matches to look ahead to. The draw has happened, but we'll basically think about the matches when we start getting to the 4th round. I believe it's in like a month's time, I think it is. Something like that. Wolverhampton Wanderers, they got over their hurdle, so they beat Shrewsbury Town. Boreham Wood was one of the other bottom 3 teams. Sadly, they lost 5-0 to Burton Albion, so they are out. We will have another one in the bottom 3 of teams, and we will be considering that in the next matches. Burnley, they got over their hurdle, 5-1 over Millwall as well. Millwall aren't exactly a bad team. They're a decent championship team. So for Burnley to score 5 past them, something to keep an eye out for on that one. Moving a bit further down, we had Fulham got over their hurdle of Middlesbrough, 3-1 win for them. And Man City, Exeter City was a mild inconvenience for them. It was 10-1. Man City, that was brutal. And let's be honest, Man City, they've been a bit brutal. I mentioned about the financial benefits that they had. For the smaller teams, well, Exeter City didn't have a financial advantage because Manchester City have kept all the gate receipts for some reason. That doesn't feel right. Feels like Exeter City should get something out of that, but what do I know? Newcastle, they were the ones that beat Bournemouth in their penalty shootout, so they are through to the next round as well, so fair play. But again, for Bournemouth, not something to be shameful of, basically, on that. Brentford beat Sheffield Wednesday, really good, 2-0 win on that. Moving further down, Western-super-Mare, another one of our bottom 3 teams that are unfortunately out. And I'll have to double check, but I think Grimsby Town might have just joined us the bottom 3 teams in the FA Cup for the next round, but we will see. Aston Villa beating Tottenham Hotspur. Again, we are going to really discuss Tottenham Hotspur for the next round, and Chelsea getting past Charlton Athletic as well. Then Sunday, Leeds United had a bit of a scare against Derby County, as did Arsenal actually. They both were 1-0 down to start off with. Both of them recovered. They got their wins. Then this didn't include a Premier League team, but this is worth pointing out. Mansfield Town of League 2 beating Sheffield United in the Championship. That was a giant killing of its own, and fair play to Mansfield Town on that. West Ham beat Queen's Park Rangers, getting through that hurdle, QPR are Queen's Park Rangers are a difficult team to play against this season. Manchester United losing out, getting knocked out of the FA Cup to Brighton and Hove Albion, and then finally on Monday we had a 4-1 victory for Liverpool over Barnsley. So a couple of big names that have already been kicked out of the competition, and some guys that are surviving as well. So we've got some really interesting things for the FA Cup when we next go back to that in the fourth round, and we will look at that later. But the most important thing is talking about the FPL. That's the reason why we're here. But before that, we got one more thing to just consider, which is the fact that as well as the FA Cup, we also had the League Cup. Now, the League Cup will be finishing next month. So we're at the semi-final stage and the final stage. Now, what's worth pointing out here is that these are two-legged semi-finals. So these results aren't final, right? The way in which it works is they'll play one match at the, so for Newcastle, Man City. So this match was played at Newcastle. They're going to play a second match at Manchester City. Whole idea of it is to provide some sort of fairness, let's say, where basically both of them will have home advantage, both of them will have away disadvantage. And in the game at Newcastle, Manchester City have got a 2-0 lead going into the second half that will be happening in a couple of weeks' time. So Newcastle United will have to score at least 2 goals to even stay into the competition for the final, something to keep an eye out for. And as for Wednesday, we had the semi-final between Chelsea and Arsenal. Apparently Arsenal absolutely battered Chelsea, yet Chelsea have got 2 goals. So whilst this is a lead for Arsenal, there's still an opportunity for Chelsea to bite back. So that's that. Now we can start considering the weekend's fixtures ahead, and we start off with Saturday, I believe, because there's no Friday matches. So we first have a Manchester derby. Manchester United playing against Manchester City. Manchester United, who have let go of Ruben Amorim, they had Darren Fletcher as caretaker manager, and they now have Michael Carrick in charge against Manchester City. Now, this is one of those ones where it could bring up a funky result. Now, Manchester derby at 12:30 might not be too bad for Manchester City going away, but there is that. I'm going to give this one to Manchester United. As much as I would love it for Man City to get the win, I think Manchester United are going to do something under Michael Carrick, and I don't know why I get that feeling. So in a similar way to the Chelsea result, I'm going to also go for a 1-1 match between Manchester United and Manchester City. So for some reason, I don't think Man City are going to do as well as people thought they were. Of course, I could be absolutely surprised by this in the sense of Man United, they are almost changing formation again. And they could get absolutely floored by Man City. But yeah, I don't know why. I feel like a funky result's coming and it's going to be a 1-1. I might cover my back though with Man City players. Then we have Chelsea versus Brentford. Brentford's certainly been the team in form out of the two of these. Chelsea with Liam Rosenior. Both of them have basically got the least experienced managers of the lot. And purely looking at this in terms of firepower, Brentford have got the upper hand. In my view, I think they've got the better goalkeeper, and in my view, they've got the better striker in Igor Thiago. The midfield is a bit more solid for Chelsea, so 2-1 to Brentford. I'm going to go for that. I'm going to get Brentford 2-1 victory. Leeds United versus Fulham now, and I think these are the teams that have been the best in terms of their form recently. I think based on everything, Fulham looked a bit more measured in their match against Middlesbrough than Leeds did against Derby. So Fulham 2-1, I think. I think Leeds will still score. But yeah, Fulham 2-1. Liverpool versus Burnley. I'm saying this mostly out of hope. Is I think we're looking at a 2-0 victory for Liverpool over Burnley. Sunderland versus Crystal Palace. Sunderland did get a penalty shootout win against Everton, but they did lose badly to Brentford. But it is at Sunderland's ground. They're playing against Crystal Palace, who stopped the rot against Aston Villa, but then again, they haven't been performing great. Got knocked out of the FA Cup. So I'm going to give this one to Sunderland. 1-0 victory, maybe like a Granit Xhaka goal, something like that. It's going to be one of those like cheeky goals that will get Sunderland the win against Crystal Palace. Tottenham Hotspur against West Ham United. Now, we've spoken a lot about West Ham United, but now I think we need to focus on Tottenham Hotspur because I have no idea what is going on with Tottenham Hotspur. I genuinely, as a neutral, thought that Thomas Frank was the perfect appointment for the way that Tottenham Hotspur should play. And so I'm surprised to see them do badly. Like, I'm not saying Thomas Frank is on the same level as Mourinho or Conte, but that has been, apart from Pochettino, that's been when Spurs have been at their most successful in terms of their defensive shape, and I felt like Thomas Frank was going to do that. So it worries me that Tottenham Hotspur are struggling. There's sometimes even a debate whether they're a top six club or not, and well, I'm not going to have. I'm not even. I feel like it's doing Tottenham Hotspur a disservice to call them a Big Six club. If that makes sense. Like, they are a team that regularly punches above their weight. And I think there are 2 or 3 like bigger clubs than Tottenham Hotspur that somehow they're considered bigger than them. And I feel like Tottenham Hotspur are I feel like they're a mid-table club that just punched above their weight really well over the past 10 years, right? But I think this direction thing that's been happening with Tottenham Hotspur, you look at the history of managers that they've had. They had Pochettino, which was possession-based, attacking style of play, the perfect manager for Tottenham apparently. Then moving to defensive in Conte and Mourinho and Nuno. Then they went ultra attacking with Ange Postecoglou, and now they've gone ultra defensive and organised with Thomas Frank. It's like Manchester United are the ones that are disorganised that everybody knows about. But this feels like Tottenham Hotspur, organisation-wise, are disorganised that no one seems to talk about because everyone thinks that they will run well. But it's concerning. And Tottenham Hotspur have good players. Dominic Solanke, good player. Richarlison, as much as I hate the guy, he is a good player. Great player, right? Bergvall, good player. Vicario's not a bad goalkeeper, certainly not like the 13th best goalkeeper. Van der Ven, Romero. Okay, Romero is a bit of a jerk, but again, not a bad player. Like, these are players that regularly are underperforming, and I don't know whether that's down to a bad organisation where they're not being played in their perfect positions, which it could be, or down to motivation. I don't know. This is one of those situations where I genuinely don't know what is going wrong with Tottenham Hotspur. I don't know if it's a stadium thing. I genuinely don't know, and it's one of those where it is a mystery. The manager that solves the problem of Tottenham Hotspur is going to be a legend. Let's just say that. They might not exist, but if they were able to fix the problem with Tottenham Hotspur, they'd be considered a legend. So a bit of an interesting one on that. They are playing against West Ham United. I think it's going to be like one of those lucky wins for Tottenham. They're like a 1-0. Where did that come from? Like a Palhinha goal, something like that? I don't know. Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal next. I know we've got to push on with these a little bit more. I think Arsenal have now got through their mid-table difficulties where they might have been struggling to get results and they got through them. This is it. This is the home stretch now. This is this should be a given for Arsenal. This should be a 2-0 easy. But weird things do happen where you end up all the difficult matches you get your wins, and then the easy match or the supposed easy match, that's when you struggle. But I do think 2-0 Arsenal, that's going to happen, no doubt about it. Sunday now, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Newcastle United. Team that's in form, playing against a team that has been lucky. It is at Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'm going to put some faith in Wolverhampton Wanderers here. A 1-0 or a 2-1. Yeah, probably more likely to be a 2-1. If Wolverhampton Wanderers want to do something at least remotely special in starting to make people believe, this is the time they need to do it. And I'm going to give it to them. There's a chance to do it as a bit of hope that Wolverhampton Wanderers will get a 2-1 victory. Aston Villa versus Everton. Everton somehow are struggling. Aston Villa, I think, will just continue their good form after beating Spurs in the FA Cup. So, yeah, 1-0, John McGinn, something like that. Everton have been decently defensive, but yeah, 1-0 for Aston Villa. And then finally, we have the Monday match between Brighton Hove Albion and Bournemouth. And Brighton win. I don't know who's going to score it. Maybe Pascal Gross just to freak everybody out. But yeah, Brighton Hove Albion for the win. So that's everything. But let's start looking at the situation when it comes to the players, the transfers, everything like that. So we have any transfers to speak of? We do. It was Semenyo who has moved from Bournemouth to Man City. So that is something to keep an eye out for. Injuries obviously are there. There's a lot in terms of the player availability. You guys won't see them all, but yeah, there's a lot to basically consider here. So let's just have a look, see if anything stands out. So Conor Bradley, the knee injury, Shah with an ankle injury as well. Unal. There's quite a few actually to consider. Kevin Lacey suspended after the FA Cup. That was a sad situation because actually he just looked like he was, struggling. This is interesting though. Chelsea have got a couple of players out for illness. Liam Delap and Jamie Gittins. Now, is that an illness that's going to affect others in the team? We don't know, but that's just something to keep an eye out for. But no major transfers out, no major transfers in. We are still going by the standard players. So these are the players we've currently got. We've got 2 transfers to have on our side. So we've got Kelleher and Roofs for Bournemouth and Sunderland playing against Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Again, I'm comfortable with these goalkeepers still. I'm still comfortable with these goalkeepers. I think they're brilliant goalkeepers, in fact. We've then got a couple of Aston Villa players against Everton in Maatsen and Rodgers. I think that's a brilliant shout to keep in. Frimpong against Burnley. I think, again, brilliant shout to keep in. Xhaka against Crystal Palace. Again, we'll keep him in. We got Crystal Palace versus Sunderland. We're going to keep Crystal Palace players, but yeah, something to potentially keep an eye out for. Haaland against Man United. We'll still keep the Man City players to cover ourselves. Thiago against Chelsea. Yeah, I feel like that's going to happen. So yeah, there is a lot to consider here. So, what are we going to do? Well, actually, I do not know. I genuinely don't know. This is one of those ones where I'm just absolutely not sure what we are going to do. The only thing I could potentially think of is maybe putting a bit of trust in. Oh, no. I know what we're going to do. I know what we're going to do. So, first things first that we're going to do is we're going to take out... We've got a budget of 3.3 million. That does help us. So, we're going to take out Matson. We're going to put in Van der Ven. We're going to take out Reinders. We're going to put in Wilson. And why are we going to do that? Well, this is the reason why. I do think that Wilson's going to have some fun against Leeds. I'm also think that there's going to be Calvert-Lewin that's going to have some fun. But I'd probably have him as a substitute more than likely. Van der Ven, I think, is a really good shout, but I feel like in place of Gahey. I don't know why. I feel like Spurs, there could be like a set-piece goal in it or something like that. Oh, look at that. We're doing a Ruben Amorim system. Right. What else do we do? I think... Ooh. What do we reckon, guys? You reckon Robinson in instead of Xhaka? Oh, ooh, tricky. Really, really tricky. That actually could cover us in terms of the attack. I think Gay is more likely to get good points than Robinson. I think Xhaka... So the question is Kelleher or Roofs? I'm going to do Kelleher. And captain... Be different, I think. I'm thinking be different. Let's do it. You only live once, guys. You only live once. So yeah, that's gonna be what we do. Do we go risky? I mean, it is Leeds that they're playing against that have been decent. Do we go big, go home? Do you know what? Actually, given the team that we've got, I might bench boost. I might do a bench boost for this one. Perfect. Don't even have to worry about it. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually have a bench piece. We're going to have all these players playing, and that is going to be the team that we've got. I don't know what your thoughts are. My thoughts are I'm going mad, but that is the team that we're going to have. All that's left to say is, you know how this works. Best of luck to anyone playing FPL this weekend, and until next time, where we will have a bit more of a chill FPL discussion. All that's left to say is take care.